Of music from the new Beatles double LP that's released on Apple Records tomorrow. This show is brought to you by the Daily Express, and with me tonight, Paul McCartney and Judith Simons of the Daily Express. We're going to talk about the LP, and I know that you're going to enjoy it. Well, Paul, I'd like you to talk about the LP in general.
What do you want to say about it, Tony?
The songs, I think, perhaps a surprise to some people, because I think a lot of people expected another step from Sgt. Pepper.
Well, it is another step, but it's not necessarily in the way people expected. On Sgt. Pepper, we had more instrumentation than we'd ever had, more orchestral stuff than we'd ever used before. So it was more of a production. But we didn't really want to go overboard on that this time. And we've tried to play more like a band this time, only using instruments when we have to, instead of just using them for the fun of it.
Is this for any sort of concept of being able to do the things live?
Yeah, and also for the concept that we like playing together. That's the main concept.
It's becoming quite a word. The first track on the LP is Back in the USSR.
It sure is, Tony. You're quite right, boy.
Can we just talk about this particular track, because it's a
Back in the USSR.
Yeah, it's a wild rocking thing.
Yeah, that's a track which it just sort of came. Because Chuck Berry once did a song called Back in the USA, which is very American, very Chuck Berry, very sort of he was serving in the army, and when I get back home, I'm gonna kiss the ground, and I can't wait to get back to the States. And it's a very American sort of thing, I've always thought, that kind of. So this one is like about, in my mind, it's just about a spy sort of who's been in America a long, long time, some fella who's been in America a long time, and he's picked up and he's very American, but he gets back to USSR, where, and he's sort of saying, leave it till tomorrow, honey, to disconnect, to disconnect the phone and all that. And come here, honey, but with Russian women and that. You see, what it is, it concerns the attributes of Russian women. Soul element created by George's guitar and heavy brass. Flip side flapper.
Cliff Bennett is releasing it as a single. Have you heard this particular take yet?
No, I haven't heard this particular take, but it concerns the attributes of Russian women. Soul element created by George's guitar and heavy brass. I like this kind of music, I like most kinds of music, so that I haven't got a bag, as they say, except the big black one in the hall outside. And this, this Obla and USSR and Martha and that, are three different songs altogether. In fact, all of mine are on the LP. But I can't really say anything about that. I'm pretty diverse. You know what I mean? I haven't got one sort of thing. So this, I've no idea why it's Jamaican or anything. It's just because I like that kind of thing.
Did you write the song on your own? I mean, this isn't a combination of the Lennon-McCartney thing.
I think it was mainly me. John's a bit more Nigerian influenced. I only like to talk about it because I like it, This is a favourite of mine. The idea of the happiness of the warm gun thing is from an advert in an American paper. Where it said, happiness is a warm gun sort of thing, and it was sort of get ready for the long hot summer with a rifle, come and buy them now. It was an advert in a gun magazine, and it was so sick, the idea of come and buy your killing weapons and come and get it. And it was just such a great line, that happiness is a warm gun, that John sort of took that and uses that as a chorus. Yeah. And the rest of the words, I think they're great words, It's a poem. It's a poem, and it finishes off, happiness is a warm gun. Yes, it is.
So, in fact, he's probably fairly serious about...
Oh, it's as serious as anyone ever gets, It's not deadly serious. You know what I mean? It's just words, and if you sort of really taxed him on it and said, would you be willing to die for these words? I'm sure he wouldn't. I'm sure it's not really serious. But the good words, I'd stick up for anyone who's sort of worried about them. It's just good poetry. Tune. And you see, I just start singing some words with the tune, and it just, you know what I mean? I don't ever write a song thinking, now I'll write a song about. I do sometimes, but mainly I don't. And mainly I'm doing a tune, and then some words come into my head, And these happen to be Martha, My Dear, though I spend my days in conversation. It doesn't mean anything, But those just happen to come into my head. So that's what this song's about. So it is about my dog. But I don't particularly want her to remember me. Like the song is about Martin Luther King. I don't mean it. But, like, you make up songs. You don't make up songs trying to make a serious... I don't ever trying to make any sort of serious social point. I just make... Because I've got to have words to music, So I make up any kind of... So, you can read anything you like into it, but really, it's just as a song. It's me singing to my dog.
Well, over what period, how long a time has it taken you all to get this whole LP together? I mean, write the songs.
Well, since we were in India, we started writing this batch of songs, and we've written a few since. But this is mainly the Indian batch that we sort of finished. Sounds like Consignment of Eggs or something.
I think it's quite a beautiful song.
Thank you, Tony. Well, it's simple in concept because you couldn't think of anything else to put on it. And that's what I was saying about the Sgt. Pepper thing. Maybe on Pepper we would have sort of worked on it until we could find some way to put violins or trumpets or something on it. But I don't think it needs it, this one. It's just, there's nothing to the song list. It is just one of those pick it and sing it, and that's it. The only point where we're thinking of putting anything on it is where it comes back in at the end. So it stops and then it comes back in. But instead of putting any backing on it, we put a blackbird on it. So there's a blackbird singing at the very end. And somebody said it was a thrush, but I think it's a blackbird.
We'll take your word for it.
I don't know. Rocky Raccoon. I was sitting on the roof in India, just sort of with guitar. John and I were sitting around just playing guitar, and we were with Donovan. And we were just sitting around enjoying ourselves. And I started playing the chords of Rocky Raccoon, just messing around. And originally it was Rocky Sassoon. And then we started making up the words, the three of us, and started just to write them down. They came very quickly. And eventually I changed it from Sassoon to Raccoon because it sounded more like a cowie. So there it is. It's just, these kind of things, you can't really talk about how they come because they just come into your head, They really do. And it's like John writing his books, There's no... I don't know how he does it, and he doesn't know how he does it, but he just writes. It's like any writer, I think people who actually do create and write, you tend to read it and think, oh, well, now, how did he do that? But it actually does flow, just flows into their head, into their hand, and they write it down, And that's what happened with this. I don't know anything about the Appalachian Mountains or cowboys and Indians or anything, but I just made it up, And the doctor came in stinking of gin and proceeded to lie on the table. So there you are.
I suppose the idea to do the thing with some sort of an American Western accent also happened this way, did it just?
Oh, that was just a joke, As most of it is.
But I'm going to leave it all to you. It's called Why Don't We Do It on the Road? What, I suppose somebody will say somewhere.
Dance, Tony, dance.
There's also another one of yours called I Will. We've covered the areas where the songs just seem to come to you and just happen this way. You get ideas. Obviously, this particular track happened the same way. The twangy guitar type thing is used again on this one. There's a slight influence, there's a lot of sort of, I suppose, music that you could call rock and roll in this LP, isn't there?
Yes, well, we are. We've always been a rock and roll group, I suppose. It's just that we're not just completely rock and roll. That's what I was trying to say before about Obladi, USSR, birthday. All the different kinds of things. We're not just completely one kind of group. Because like when we played in Hamburg, we didn't just do rock all evening because we had these, sort of fat old businessmen coming in and saying, or thin old businessmen as well, but coming in and saying, play a mambo. Can you do a rumba? And we couldn't just keep saying no. So we had to get into mambos and rumbas a bit. So that this kind of thing, it's a pretty sort of smoochy ballad. I Will. But we have to do that kind of stuff, So So we've always played a lot of kind of things, you know. So I don't know if it's getting off the subject, but that's why like there's a great variety in this LP, because in our things, in everything we do, you know, we just haven't got one bag, the Beatles, you know. I mean, because on one hand you'll get something like I Will, and then you'll get Why Don't We Do It in the Road, you know. Just completely different things, completely different feelings, but it's me singing both of them. It's the same fella, and I wrote both of them, you know. So that you can't explain it, you know. I don't know why I do Why Don't We Do It in the Road, shouting it like that, with a piano and just a rock and roll thing, and then do this sort of smoochy Latin American girl from Ipanema. Take it away, Paul. Rock and roll.
The next track is back in the old rock and roll style, which I guess we've already really covered. But once again, this is a very loud type, if you like, discotheque type number.
Good story about that, Tony. What happened was The Girl Can't Help It was on television. That's an old rock film.
Right.
With Little Richard and Fats Domino and Eddie Cochran and a few others, Gene Vincent. And we wanted to see it. So we started recording at 5 o'clock. And we said, well, we'll just do a backing track. We'll make up a backing track. So we kept it very simple, 12-bar blues kind of thing, and we stuck a few bits here and there in it, with no idea what the song was or what was going to go on top of it. We just said, okay, 12 bars in A, then we'll change to D, and then we'll do a few beats in C. You know, we really just did it like that, random thing. And then we came back, because we didn't have time for anything else, and so we just recorded this backing. And we came back here to my house and watched The Girl Can't Help It. Then we went back to the studio again, and then made up some words to go with it all, which were, they say it's your birthday, well, it's my birthday too, yay. And so this song was just made up in an evening. You know, we hadn't ever thought of it before then. And it's one of my favourites, you know, because of that. I think it works, you know, because it's a good one to dance to. Like the big, long drum break, but just because instead of, well, normally we might have sort of 4 bars of drums. But with this, we just said, no, keep it going, you know, keep it, you know, we all like to hear just drums plodding on. So, no more explanation. It's called Birthday.
Simon's another track that you use acoustic guitar, and there's probably more acoustic guitar used in this set of tracks than you've ever used before.
Yes. Well, it's the same thing again. You know, we wrote them with guitars, and John, on a lot of his, John picks the guitar, because he learned off Donovan when we were in India. Donovan showed him how to finger pick. You know. So he sort of stuck it in everything then. And while he was learning finger picking, I was sort of playing acoustic as well, you know, acoustic guitar. So that's it. That's why they crept in like this. We decided not to try and cover them up with it like we might do normally, and just use the acoustic guitar instead of, say, a piano or an electric guitar or anything. So the only thing about this one, however, it says, born a poor young country boy. And I was born in Walton Hospital, actually, so it's a dirty lie.
Paul, lots of the songs that you do, I imagine the production ideas come to you when you get into the studio after you've written the song. Is this true? I mean, do you...
That is quite true, Tony. That is quite true. Accurate observation.
Beautiful track. And a lot of the tracks that you've selected to comment on during this show tonight are some of the big, you know, loud, uptight ones.
Well, the only ones I'm commenting on are the ones I sort of wrote or have a lot to do with. Because I don't want to go commenting on John's songs in case I'm wrong, you know, because he wrote them, you know, most of them. So I don't really want to go into... Anyway, Helter Skelter, yeah. That came about just because I'd read a review of a record where it said, and this group, it was about some group, I can't remember, saying, and this group really goes wild, and they just... This like echo on everything, they're screaming their heads off. And I just remember thinking, oh, it'd be great to do one like that. The pity they've done it, you know. Must be great, really screaming record. And then I heard their record, and it was quite straight, and it was very sophisticated. It wasn't rough and screaming and tape echo at all. So I thought, oh, well, we'll do one like that then. And I had this song called Helter Skelter, which is just a ridiculous song. So we did it like that, because I like noise.
That's the way we'll hear it. Helter Skelter, 5 talky picture feel, somebody once said in the last couple of days. And in fact, this is the sort of thing that I think when I heard it first, the Russ Columbo type thing came to mind immediately. So why?
I've never heard of him. Russ Conway, yes. Russ Columbo. Why did it come to mind? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it was just that sort of, I suppose, 1920s song, and I can imagine the thing with the guy on stage with the, in this case, you maybe with the megaphone and the cymbal thing and the precise type backing.
Yes, well, I like, my dad's always sort of played fruity old songs like that, and I like them. I like the melody of old songs. And the lyrics as well, there's some old lyrics like, sort of a woman singing about a man, and she's saying, something about, I want to have his initial on my monogram. Or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just good lyrics and just good thoughts that you don't sort of hear so much these days, And so, I would quite like to have been sort of a 1920s writer. Because I like that thing, of the top hat and tails and sort of coming onto this kind of number. I like that thing. But, so this is just me doing it, pretending I'm living in 1925.
So it's Honey Po, and we'll have goodbye on the show tonight. Thanks very much for the time and your comments, which I know so many million people out there are going to be very interested in. The final track, I suppose, is the wrap-up to the LP and to the show tonight. And I would imagine that a lot of people who are known as standard singers or middle-of-the-road singers in America are probably going to record this track.
Yes. It's very much that kind of track, John wrote it mainly. It's his tune, which is surprising for John, because he doesn't normally write this kind of tune. It's a very sweet tune, and Ringo sings it great, I think. The arrangement was done by George Martin, because he's very good at that kind of arrangement, very sort of lush, sweet arrangement. And that's all I can say about it. It's very sweet, and in fact, it's good night.
Interview Ringo Starr, London, December 1968. Last week was quite a controversial week for the Beatles.
Yeah.
How close are you? We've had reports that you're not as close as you used to be, and that the Beatles aren't as rich as everyone's thought they were, and that they might have to close down Apple.
Yes, well,
How true is this, Ringo?
Well, should we take them one at a time?
Yes.
All right, what was the first one?
Are you as close?
Yes, there's that famous old saying, you always hurt the one you love. And we all love each other, and we all know that, but we still sort of hurt each other occasionally, where we just misunderstand each other. And we go off, and it builds up to something bigger than it ever was, and then we have to come down to it and get it over with, and sort it out. And so we're still really very close people. What's the second one?
Do you see the Beatles going on like they are at the moment for a long time in the future, or do you see a split very soon?
It depends what you mean as a split. I mean, we split...
Go your separate ways and not
completely, no,
together.
we'll never go... Oh, I can't say never, but I mean, we won't go our separate ways after this album. And we'll always be tied up with each other in some way. Because we've signed a lot of papers. It says we stay together for 20 years or something. And Apple closing, is silly. We have spent a lot of money, because we don't earn as much as people think, because if we earn $1 million, then the government gets 90% and we get 10,000. And we didn't sort of realise how much we were spending, like someone pointed out, to spend 10,000 you have to make 120. But we just spend as 120. So all we're doing now is tightening up on our own personal money and on the company's money, we're not just giving as much away and handouts and things like that, and as many projects. We're going to cut down a bit till we've sorted ourselves out again and do it properly as a business.
Do you feel you have been a bit careless with money?
Yes, I think we have. But it's not that we're broke. On paper, we're very wealthy people. Just when it gets down to pound notes, we're only half wealthy.
Are you concerned about public opinion? Because there is a suggestion that your popularity isn't as strong as it used to be.
No, it isn't. It's because, when we first started, we were the nice, clean mop tops and every mother's son, and everyone loved us. And then suddenly, there's a few things that they don't understand and they don't get, and, they don't like. And so it turns them off as a bit, But I still think we're very popular. It's just we're men now, we're a bit older than those lads that started out. And we've got a lot of things to do, And you've got to do a few of them. Doesn't matter, what people say. You can't live all your life by what they want. You know, we can't go on forever as four clean little mop tops playing She Loves You.
You seem to be the more industrious Beatles.
No, I'm the laziest Beatle, actually.
Are you?
Yeah, see, that's just my image. You know, I'm quite happy to finish an LP and go and sit back. But I can enjoy myself just sitting back, you know, and playing at home with all the toys. And the kids and the wife. I enjoy playing with the wife. We're all still good pals, and we're all good players, and we like to play together.
Yeah. You're all friends again now, which is a lovely thing.
We've always rarely been friends. I mean, we've had our little niggles.
Yes.
But, I mean, we've always talked to each other, you know.
Yes.
So it hasn't been as...
Even through the Cold War.
Even through... well, you know, it's never been as tough as the press sort of made out, you know.
Yes.
We did at least acknowledge each other all the time.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
we
You
weren't
spoke
like...
to each other on the telephone.
Yes,
if there was a
and
situation.
saw each other. I mean, I saw everyone.
Well,
I mean, you know,
it must
maybe
be
it's because I'm so
something to do
nice.
It might have something to do with that, you know. Don't you think that
No,
could happen?
no, it's down to the four of us. Not any one of us can do it. I mean, Paul used to be the one to get everything together.
Yes.
You know, he'd phone us up. John and I'd be sitting in the garden. He'd phone up saying, well, should we do an album? We'd say, oh, yeah, okay, because what are we doing sitting in the garden? We'll go and do an album. You know, he used to be the one to get things moving, really.
Yes. Would you like to do it again?
Well, I wouldn't like to go out on the road and everything again. I think
No.
we could... The thing we could do was record together
Yeah.
again. That's about it. I wouldn't fancy
But
going
not
on
a
the road
concert.
with anymore. No.
Not a stage concert again.
No, we'd have to get all that makeup on and high heel sneakers. And I'm not shaving my beard off for anyone. Maybe I'll just have it dyed gold.
You just grow into being a myth.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
It's a lovely idea of you all being together again.
it's like what you know. I don't know when those old vaudeville stars coming back. They never make it. I mean, I'm not saying we can't make it. It's shitty. See, you can't answer these questions in reality.
Well, there's no question you're not making it. I mean,
No.
you have a ready-made audience, wouldn't
Yeah.
you? I mean, the thing about it is, I mean, you've all got your own.
Yes, but we stopped
separate
touring
directions
even,
now, haven't you?
you know, after a couple of years because of what the albums. We could never reproduce that on stage.
It's in the lap of the gods.
Well, we're the gods.
Right.
Another good quote. Also, you see,
What were
even
your
when we
musical
first,
differences?
when we, well, I mean, listen to all our albums.
Yeah.
I mean, just listen to them and you can see where we're all going, you know.
Mm.
And you'd have to melt all that again, you know.
Mm.
So that's the difference.
Do you think you'll be happy to go on in show business?
Yes,
as long
I'm
as-
Mr. Show Business, you know. Yeah, I'm the group, you know. I quite enjoy all that entertaining. You know.
Yes.
It's just strange for me when I'm up front, you know, after all those years at the back.
Yes.
And then suddenly I'm up there dancing and singing. And, you know, I have to get used to that a bit more.
Have you had dancing lessons, Andrew?
No, I had one when I was about 8, tap dancing lesson, but my friend and I went to the it was above a co-op shop in Liverpool.
Yeah.
But there was too many girls there for us, and we left. I've been trying
got
to get
shy.
back ever since. Yeah, we're just these, you know, when you're 8, you know, you're going through that scene about, no, they're only girls, you know, they're not really human. When you get to 9, then you start to realise what it's all about.
Looking back, what do you look upon as the most momentous moment in the career of the Beatles for you?
Well, I think the first one's always the sharpest, and that was Love Me Do, you know, getting right up to 47.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that was like the most incredible scene, that we had a record out, you know, that we had a bit of plastic with us on, for me. Then you got like the Palladium was another whole different scene, and then you got like America was another scene. You know, we had a lot of scenes, but the first one is the most powerful, and that was Love Me Do for me. I mean, that was more powerful than I think Please Please Me making #1.
Yes.
Just the idea of being on a bit of plastic, you know, it was really incredible after all those years of playing.
When you look back on it, how do you react about that period, you know, which was a most amazing period, really, wasn't it?
It was the worst time and the best time in my life.
It was.
I mean, the best time because we played a lot of good music and we had a lot of good times, and the worst time because it's not, touring is never a pleasure. You know, playing was always the pleasure, but what goes with it, you know, and especially for a group who was as big as us, where it was like 24 hours a day with no break, with press and people fighting to get into your room, you know,
Yes.
climbing 25 stories of drain pipes, knocking on your window. I mean, it never stopped, and that wasn't the good part of it.
No.
But the shows, I mean, no one ever complained about them. It was just that everything that went around us would have, if we'd have carried on, I personally would have gone insane,
You would have done.
you know. And I also think we if you do too much touring, and in those days we only played 12 numbers, we got really stale as musicians. And you can tell when you get stale, you don't feel good. So then the shows tended to be off, but no one cared. No one knew if it was good or bad. We'd do the same show in two towns. One, we'd come off feeling good, and one would come off feeling bad, but we'd get the same reaction to both shows. No one would know the difference bar us.
That is slightly inadequate feeling, isn't it?
Well, you feel like, what am I doing? I'm playing the biggest load of shit in the world, and people are standing and cheering.
Yes.
Which isn't good for you.
Not very fulfilling.
No, in no way.
No.
All I'm doing, I'm acting out the part of Beatle George, and, we're all acting out our own parts. And, the world is a stage and the people are the players. Shakespeare said that. And he's right,
You expect another part later?
Oh, many parts. Yes.
Whichever. Is that why you've come to terms with it?
Yes, because you just do whatever you can do. I mean, even if it's been a Beatle for the rest of my life, it's still only a temporary thing. And, really all we did was get born and live so many years, and
labelled.
And this is what happened. I got born seemingly to become Beatle George. But it doesn't really matter who you are or what you are, because that's only a temporary sort of tag for a limited sort of period of years.
Do you enjoy it now?
It's the same as any job, It's up and down, Life is up and down all the time. And maybe for us it goes up higher, but it comes down lower. Relativity. So, if we have a bad time, it's really bad. And if we have a good time, maybe it's really good. But it's only the same, It's relativity. So it's the same law operates for everybody.
Yes.
But they only, it's the same thing. Like they see showbiz, that thing, and all they think of is, all that money you've got, and you've got a big house and car and all that sort of thing. But the problems that come along with that, are incredible. And I can tell you, everything material that we have, every £100 we've earned, we've got £100 worth of problems to balance it.
Yes.
It's very ironical in a way, because, we've all got maybe a big house and a car and an office. But to actually get the money that you've earned is virtually impossible. It's like illegal to earn money. Well, not to earn it. It's illegal to keep the money you earn. You never give me your money. You only give me your funny paper. That's what we get, bits of paper saying how much is earned and what this and that. But you never actually get it in
pounds, shillings and pence.
Yes. But I think it's another of life's problems that you never actually solve. Or it's very difficult to solve. And anyway, you've just got to, no matter how much money you've got, you can't be happy anyway. So you have to find your happiness with the problems you have. And you have to not worry too much about them. And Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. The thing about it, Hare, the word Hare is the word that calls upon the energy that's around from the Lord, whichever Lord you like, really. But in this case, it happens to be Krishna, which is like the words that Christ said became the Christian Bible, then the words that Krishna said became the sort of Hindu Bible called the Bhagavad Gita. So it's just by merely the repetition of that. It's the same if you were just to go around chanting Christ, 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 Christ. If you say it long enough, then you build up this identification. Whatever you identify with, you become one with it. So it's really a method of becoming one with God.
I see.
It's just another process. It's really the same sort of thing as meditation, but this is a thing. It has more effect, I think, or quicker effect, because music is such a powerful force. And they say God likes me when I work, but loves me when I sing. But it's really the same end as meditation. The response that comes from it is in the form of bliss. That's what I say, the more you do it, the more you don't want to stop it, because it feels so nice, peaceful. I believe in the saying, if there's a God, we must see him. And I don't believe in the idea like in most churches they say now, you're not going to see him, he's way above you, just believe what we tell you and shut up. Well, the whole thing is a different way. It's a process of actually having that realization and direct God perception, which is the thing you can attain through chanting and through meditation. And then you don't have any questions. You don't have to ask the vicar about this because it all becomes clear with the expanded state of consciousness. But you don't get it in 5 minutes. It's something that takes a long time. So it's like to give peace a chance, or all you need is love. The thing is, you can't just stand there and say love, 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 or peace, 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 and get it. You have to have a direct process of attaining that. It's like, Christ said, put your own house in order. Maharishi said, for a forest to be green, each tree must be green. So the same, for the world to have peace, each individual must have peace, and you don't get it through society's normal channels. And that's why each individual must attend to himself and get his own peace, and that way the whole society will have peace.
George, and what about these rules? Do you support all these things that the
No.
Krishna movement support? I mean, they
I
don't
believe
approve,
in it.
for example, of alcohol
Yeah.
and drugs, and they recommend a certain kind of food, vegetarian sort of
Well,
methods.
there's certain
And no sex unless you're
Yeah.
going to have children, right?
non-illicit sex, which means, so there are members of this Radha Krishna temple who are married and who have children. So all that means is, not raving around, knocking off everybody, because that's then becomes a bit of discipline, because all those emotions like that, lust and greed, are emotions that have got to be curbed. I believe in being a vegetarian because meat's one of the worst things anybody can eat.
What about the other ones?
Which
The other
ones?
rules? No alcohol or drugs.
Yeah, well, I don't drink alcohol personally because, that's one reason why I smoked pot. When I started smoking pot a few years ago, I hope they won't edit this piece out because I'm not really...
I hope they won't. I'm sure they won't. I won't let them.
Okay, the thing was that as soon as I smoked pot, I gave up alcohol because I realized the only reason I was drinking alcohol was to get high. So I got high much easier without any sickness after it. But the thing is now that to really have pure state of consciousness and good perception that is above the normal state of consciousness that we're aware of, then you must have a perfectly clear mind. So alcohol and any sort of drugs is out. But I haven't taken anything like that personally for a long time. In fact, even before I got busted, I never took it. It just happened that, that they seemed to bring it with them that day.
I see.
So, but that's a different story. Edit. Anyway, yes, I agree with that because
agree with that?
in order to really get high, you've got to have a pure system. Your mind and body's got to be clear. But I've been writing for a couple of years now, and there's been lots of songs I've written which I haven't actually got round to recording. So, in my own mind, I don't see what the fuss is because I've heard these songs before and I wrote them, quite a while back. And it's really nice that people like the songs, but...
You don't look upon yourself as a late developer as regards songwriting then, because it's sort of kind of hit everyone that way,
late, early, what's late and what's early.
But you hadn't really got the reputation
No.
yet as a
I
songwriter, had you?
I wasn't Lennon or I wasn't McCartney. And, I was me. And the only reason I started to write songs was because I thought, well, if they can write them, I can write them. Because really, everybody can write songs if they want to. If they have a desire to, and if they have sort of some musical knowledge and background. And then it's by writing them, the same as writing books or writing articles or painting. The more you do it, the better, or the more you can understand how to do it. And I used to just write songs. I still do. I just write a song and it just comes out however it wants to. And some of them are catchy songs, like Here Comes the Sun, and some of them aren't, but to me there's just songs and I just write them, and some will be considered as good by maybe the masses and some won't, but to me they're just songs, things that are there that have to be got out. And it's just the first line, something in the way she moved, which has been in millions of songs. It's not a special thing, but it just seemed quite apt.
In the way she moves attracts me like no other lover.
And I usually get like the first few lines of lyrics and melody both at once, and then I finish the melody usually first and then have to write the words. Like there's another song I wrote when we were in India, and I wrote it straight away, and the first verse I wrote just said everything I wanted to say, like that.
I look at you all, see the lover that's sleeping, while my guitar gently weeps.
And then now I need to write a couple more verses, and I find it much more difficult. But John gave me a handy tip once, which is once you start to write a song, try and finish it straight away while you're in the mood. And I've learned from experience, yeah, because you go back to it and then you're in a whole different state of mind and it's more difficult. Sometimes it's easier, but on the whole it's more difficult to come back to something. So I do now try and finish them straight away. Here Comes the Sun was the same period. We had meetings and meetings and with all this, bankers and, lawyers and all sorts of things and contracts and shares, and it was really awful because it's not the sort of thing we enjoy. And one day I didn't come into the office. I just it was like sagging off school. And I went to a friend's house in the country, and it was just sunny, and it was all just the release of the tension that had been building up on me. And it was just really nice sunny day, and I picked up the guitar, which was the first time I'd played the guitar for a couple of weeks because I'd been so busy. And the first thing that came out was that song. It just came, and I finished it later when I was on holiday in Sardinia.
Mr. John Lennon and Miss Yoko Ono. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Stan. Who's that?
Stan.
That's Stan, is it? Hello, Stan.
Hello. I'm just thinking to myself, how much more money do you suppose it could have cost for air conditioning?
The matter will be looked into, and after you've gone back to America,
I think you get
rejected.
the badge for that.
Yes, you gave me one of these badges beforehand. Now, what is this? This is really the basis of what you're talking about, isn't it? You are here.
It's that show, yeah.
Now, what exactly does it mean? You are here.
You are here.
Well, instead of Kirill was there or something, usually people think in vicarious terms, and they think, well, somebody's there, John Lennon is there, somebody. But it's not that. You are the one who's here. And so in art, usually artists give something that's an object, made object, and say, this is art, But instead of that, art exists in people, it's people's art. And so we don't believe in just making something, completing it and giving it to people, but we like people to participate and sort of, all the pieces are unfinished. and they have to be finished by people.
Now what have we got here? You were pointing at this as you were explaining that, Yoko.
Yes.
Tell us about this. It's what, a broken cup?
Well,
right?
it's just an example, but this is supposed to be a sculpture, and it's a broken cup, and an unfinished sculpture that would be just made by people, just gradually rebuilding it into a cup.
Well, and is the sculpture then the broken cup, or the way people rebuild it with
Well, the thing
glue?
is, there's no such thing as sculpture or art, and it's just a bit of, it's just words, you know. And like she's saying, everything is art, and we're all art. Art is just a tag, like a journalist tag, you know, but artists believe it. And that sculpture is anything, you know, you care to name it. This is sculpture, us sitting here. This is a happening. We are here.
I don't think
this is
it'll
art.
last.
Yeah, but I mean, so I mean, if you gave that to a child, he wouldn't have any preconceived ideas, so you wouldn't have to say this is sculpture or this is a broken cup. You'd say there's that, there's glue. What do you do? You stick it together.
In reply to your question, I think you can say that this is just a process of art, or process of things. You know, everything's just a process.
Can you show us? We haven't got the "You Are Here"
Canvas, no.
canvas because
Well, the
it's
point
locked
about
up
that
in
was-
a cupboard and no one could get at it. But
Yeah,
can
well,
we
let
bring
me-
on a blackboard and the other thing?
It's better to explain why it was on canvas first.
Yes.
The point was, I had this idea that, like, you know, the street maps or things that say where a place is, you are here, you know, on those street map things. You've seen them?
Yes.
Right. So I thought, oh, that'd be a good idea to have a show where you actually had the street map inside the gallery, and you went in and saw that. So I thought, now if I did that, and seeing as I've never done it before, and they've all got preconceived ideas about what I am, I thought, ha-ha, I'll put it on canvas, and that makes it art, brackets or inverted commas. You know, I mean, it is or it isn't, however you like it. So I put it on a big white round canvas and just had "You Are Here" that I'd written on it. And the point of the show was people went through various things to get to the thing, to the canvas, and then they reacted to it. And some of them just thought, oh yeah, you know, no hang up, you are here. And they got a badge. I had a hat saying "For the Artist," which they put money in or chewing gum or all sorts of rubbish and that. Anything, I didn't mind. And then they took a badge. But I filmed them secretly with a candid camera team, and sometimes they go up and they go, so they put something in, or they take something, then they'd take a badge and they'd look around and they'd take a handful. And there's all these amazing reactions. The whole point of the show was that was the art, that was the happening of these people reacting to it. Some people who are sort of less hung up just sort of accept it. Oh, you are here, good joke, or oh, so what?
And do you want people to look and receive things and just look at this sort of thing, or do you want them really to get involved?
Participate in
Well, they do participate as soon as they look at it. You see, now if you show it to a child, he'll just either take no notice of it because he knows he's here, or he'll just say, oh, you are here, you know, it's just written on the wall or in the toilet. And the film that you're going to show is the same thing. If you show a child a film, there's no preconceived ideas about what a film should be. But most adults have all this preconception about what everything is.
Yeah. Now, can we, in that illustration, show the film now without saying anything in advance about it?
Sure.
Right, let's just watch a bit of this film, and then let's see what your reactions are to it.
And also, I think, you know, I've learned a lot from John because, for instance...
Just 1 second. Let's watch the film for a moment.
Oh, all right.
It's out of frame.
Yeah.
Lift it up, lift it up.
You're getting it all down there.
Do you see it? Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. Oh. We didn't bring the soundtrack because we lost it.
Was there ever a soundtrack?
Oh, there is a soundtrack, yes. We haven't put it on yet.
Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, any sound is sound. You know.
This sound will do.
This sound is right. Yeah.
This is all right, is it? This
Yeah,
sound?
our sound is okay.
Yeah. It's still going on, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it goes on for an hour. But the point is, it's a film, I'll explain what I think about it. The point is that it's a portrait. You know, and if Renoir or any of those people had made a portrait of just somebody's face that never moves and just hangs on the wall, you accept it. Because people are used to that. But this is a portrait on film. Also, well, okay, let me say that, baby. You do
okay.
that. So there's 3 minutes of film that was taken and spaced out to last an hour, very slow motion. So in an hour, in 3 minutes, a lot happens to somebody's face, anybody's face. A lot of amazing things happens, a lot of movement that you never realize goes on. And in this, you've got 3 minutes under a microscope to examine anybody's face, your own. You can't be bothered sitting there for an hour looking at your own face. And amazing things happen. Your whole head changes shape. Your nose is moving. Every part of it is moving all the time, which is known. But you're not aware of this in everyday life. But in that film, you can see it. And when we showed it to her daughter, she just said, "Oh, look, his nose is moving."
John has a funny nose. It's
all that.
moving.
But and show it to somebody else and say, "Well, a film about a face for an hour? Oh, yeah, sure." Like that.
But it's not just the face, it's as John said, it's moving, and it's just that wavelengths coming into you. It's like a vibration.
What do you want? What do you want? I mean, now we only saw 1 minute there of a 90-minute film, right?
Yes.
But what do you want our reaction to be?
Well, I don't expect any particular reaction, except that I was thinking as a portrait. Well, if you have a portrait in your house or something, that you always will think that it's there, and it's in your mind, so to speak. And one day you see the portrait again, and it just suddenly winks at you or something. And it sort of gives you a message. And this film goes on like that, but at one point, John just sort of smiles, and that's the vibration that comes across.
What vibration? What do you mean by vibration?
A message. I think just smiling is a nicer message than scorning or something like that.
The vibration is, if somebody happy, if we're sitting in your house or something, and we're feeling depressed, and somebody who doesn't feel depressed can come in and cheer us up just by his vibration or his attitude,
presence,
whatever, his presence.
Aura and all that.
If you say words, something happens, it just doesn't drop onto the floor or something. It's like radio waves. That whatever I'm saying now goes on ad infinitum, wherever it goes, because it's a waveform or a pattern. You know, it sets up a vibration. So everything you do or think does this too. You know, it doesn't just end here. It's like throwing a stone into water. Something happens, and every time you speak, the vibration you set up with your voice goes on till it wears out or whatever. And if you make a sound, if you hit a gong and listen to it, it goes. But it doesn't end when you can't hear it anymore. Carries on. The vibration is something that we could have between us. There's vibrations in here.
Can you get a vibration from?
Well, there is one.
These 200 people.
There
here.
is a vibration now. It's not. You can't. You'd have to be super sensitive to read the whole thing as well. But
What
you
do
can
you
tell
get
that it's no. It's not aggressive vibration. It's not over antagonistic. It's interested, but still. We're still a bit freaky because it's us two on TV. So there's that vibration, but there's a calm vibration here and a hot one. But, you know, it's sort of there is a vibration. You know, there's an atmosphere, and vibration is just a word you think, hippies. You know, that's what they talk. The vibration is just vibration.
But
and you mean in fact that they're interested and a bit puzzled, you're saying, our 200 here, but I mean, the vibration would change as you convince them.
Not only that, but if they participate. In other words, as long as you participate in a thing, you start to experience it yourself.
Well, let's get them to participate because you've got a piece of wood here. Now, tell us about the piece of wood and the nail.
Oh, you tell them about it. I'll hang it up.
Yes.
You tell us about it.
First, it's a painting called Hammer Nailing, and I just hate the idea of painters just making a painting with the color balance and the right texture, etc., etc. But this is just a painting that people come and hammer nailing wherever they want to, and that makes the shape of the painting.
I see. And what do we want the people to feel as they do it?
Well, they just have to find out for themselves. In other words, it's an experience. And I think, basically the artist's role in start is extremely important in the sense that now people are talking about revolution and things like that. Now, basically, I don't believe in revolution because they say, well, revolution, if nothing happens, then we have to use violence too and all that. And the thing is, if we just go on making all these rituals and folk art and participating in that instead of
violence,
you mean of violence, yes.
What you mean is let them, as it were, bang a nail in rather than blow up a city.
Let it say that it's therapeutic or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Look, John, can we? Yes. Would you like to get someone in the audience to come and try?
Hi, anybody like to come along? Okay.
Fun.
Oh, hi. I know you.
Right, and can we have someone else as well to try this?
I think if you gave it to a child, what would he do? He'd just do it. He would have to go to a ritual of saying, this is a painting, this is a hammer and nail.
Right, will you... Right, why
Will
don't
the
you...
first contestant please like to hammer and nail in? Right.
Supposing I want to hammer it in.
Oh, well, you can do that, but I mean...
See, I can't because they...
Well, this is my blackboard. You don't want to wreck my blackboard.
Right, well, try doing it there.
If you do one in there, I'll let you do one in here.
Yeah. Try doing it there.
There you go.
I don't want to hit my finger.
You did very well.
Thank you.
Hand Mike. Hand Mike.
And Mike.
Now, what
I wanted to hammer it in there.
I think, you can if you like.
Now tell me, what...
I don't know whether you
turn
deserve
around
this,
that way.
but you get one.
Now, what feeling did you get as you were doing that, then?
What feeling? Feeling of satisfaction.
No, well, that's it then.
Well, you're a successful example, right? You move over there.
Roll up, roll up.
You said.
Hammer and nail in, everyone a winner.
Right, try and hammer in a nail.
Anywhere.
No, not on John's blackboard, but up there.
So remind me to get cornflakes. A nice stroke, is that there?
Now, turn around the other way.
Would you like to?
Now, what did you get? Come round here,
Happy
John.
birthday.
Come round here, John. Now, what feeling did you get out of that, then?
It was unbelievable.
I think this audience has been loaded tonight. I really do. Was it?
Absolutely. I can't explain it, really.
But you just hammered in a nail. That's all you did.
Well, that was it. It's just hammering in a nail.
Oh, it is good.
Is it good?
Yes, it is. Try it.
All right. Thank you very much.
And now for Alabama, Mr. D. Frost is going to blow
Does it
one.
have to be a new nail? Or
Oh,
an
yes,
old?
I mean, because you don't want to use anybody's old nail. I don't know where it's been, do you? He's hammering it in now, third stroke, beautiful stroke. Beautiful.
Now,
how did you feel?
I know this is a terrible condemnation of me, but I just felt like a man hammering in a nail.
I felt like one hammering it in on TV.
That's more accurate, yes.
Yes.
Well caught, well caught. But the, but I mean,
just put the hat out for a collection.
Right.
For artists.
On the way out. I'm having a bit of a tax problem.
Now, did the first people presumably responded as they ought to have responded to, and I was just a prosaic Barry Bucknell. But I mean,
either way it's fine.
But I mean,
either way is fine.
The thing is to what? Get people involved and get them to do things.
Yes.
Well, ask her because that's her bit, really.
Yes, but it's
I'll ask you because it's your bit.
well, I mean, that particular one was mine. But you see, for instance, this piece here, it's called Built Around It. I just want to show you. This is by John, and you see, that's why I was saying that I've learned a lot from John because I was doing all these instruction pieces to make people get involved in it and everything. And then he suddenly one day said, why don't you use this as a piece and call it Build Around It. And it's also an instruction piece to let people do something to it. But the idea is that most art, people are more, sort of artists are interested in destructive things, to destroy the establishment, etc. And we never thought of something like just keeping this as is and building around it. The concept was so beautiful. And so I thought, well, that's your piece, so why don't we do a group show, And I was just going to do one show then, so I asked John to participate in that.
Well, in fact, because this is interesting, the thing with the nails, for instance, it was banging the nail in that the two of you first found that you agreed on art and so on.
Oh, yeah, well, I went... well, that's her version. She was having a show at this gallery, and I knew the fellow that ran it, so it wasn't... It's a bit embarrassing being a Beatle anyway, going into a shop, never mind going into a gallery, because they either all leap on you thinking, here's another mug, like a Texan, he'll buy anything. And I had a bit of a hang-up about art, too, having been to art school, and disliked the sort of attitude of the so-called artist, So anyway, I finally got to this show, and she had all these things on, all these hammer nail things, and that clock there, you listen to it to a stethoscope, all the things. And at first I reacted like a mug, like the ones that are saying they don't get a badge, I think, don't fool me with all this junk, So then there was this ladder and a thing on the ceiling. So I climbed the ladder, and on the ceiling it said, yes. You see, so I thought, oh, I agreed then. It's okay, you know. I mean, it's like those jokes, while you're looking at here, you're dribbling down your trousers and that thing. I mean, it's all sort of connected. I mean, people get a buzz out of that in the toilet, but if you put it on in a room, it upsets them a bit, because they've got preconceived ideas about where those messages should be. But it said yes. And if it had said no, well, I would have carried on with my preconceived ideas about art and artists, you know, that they're all sort of, yeah, sure. But it said yes, and that was enough, you know. And then she came up and said, she didn't know who I was, and was saying, do you like to hammer a nail in? It's 5 shillings. So I said,
you didn't want to pay.
I didn't have any money, so I said, I'll hammer an imaginary nail in and give you an imaginary 5 shilling. And she agreed with that. She accepted that on the same basis as we accept her work. You know, I'd accepted her work, and that was how we met, actually.
But I mean, the thing is, and this comes back to the basic thing of what you're doing, really. Was it as much fun to you to bang in an imaginary nail and pay an imaginary 5 shillings as it would have been if both had been real?
Yes, because as a child I did a lot of imaginary bits, you know. I mean, it depends on the individual. I enjoyed then knocking the nail in. I enjoy knocking nails in walls to hang pictures up. But I also enjoy thinking, I'm going to do that, but I actually won't do it. I enjoy imagining doing things just as much. Don't you? I mean, you imagine a meal, you imagine sex, you imagine a holiday, and it's nearly as good as the actual thing.
No, in all cases, the real thing's much better. In all
my memories of holidays, even on a holiday that wasn't so good, I remember the good bit. You know, it's just like that. And if you imagine it, it's all good.
Sometimes imaginary things are much nicer. I mean, when you go actually in a park, the green is not that green, etc. You know.
But I mean, if imaginary things are as good as real things, are you saying... Give us an imaginary song.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. But I mean, if imaginary things are as good as real things, then...
No, I didn't say that. I
things
said
not almost as good. Do things, therefore, not matter at all? Is it all in the mind?
Well, I don't know. That's what they keep saying. That's what George's cartoon kept saying in Yellow Submarine. It's all in the mind, groovy, and all that. But it probably is all in the mind, you know, but I don't know.
Well, both are nice, I think. And also, you have to have, you know, somebody keep reminding you that you have a mind.
You're only awake when you realise you're awake. And when you're dreaming, you know it is just as real as being... Whatever happens is just as real. You know, whether you actually do die in a dream or fulfill whatever you're doing in a dream. There's nobody to tell me that it isn't as real as this now. Because how do you know, you know?
You mean so that the thing is as real as... I mean, if you had to summarise, I mean, we've the last got about a minute to go. How could you... It's amazing, but how could you summarise what you want to get across to our people? Have the vibrations changed?
A little, yes.
Yes, to free their minds.
I think maybe it's got confusing with this, because we're not all that good, we're not all that articulate, and it's nerve-wracking being on TV and trying to explain yourself. Now, we try and explain ourselves in what we do, and I do it mainly through music, and she does it through her art, like that. And it's hard to put words to it.
No, we're not trying to explain.
But the thing,
we're just trying to communicate.
Communicate.
You know? And communication itself is art, and art is communication. And so that, and people are getting so intelligent that you don't have to really explain too much. All you have to do is just touch each other, just shake hands, you know. And so this is a way of touching each other.
We'll start communicating as we end with the audience.
Join in now.
Yeah.
Getting the audience communicating now by joining in. This is like a Beatles song.
Make you louder. Put the record on, Daddy.